So Carmine, how you doing?
I'm doing okay. I'm doing okay. So this is your final episode of Game of Thrones, season eight's final episode, the Iron
Right,
Throne review.
right, with good old Chad, Sweet Robin, and Brandon Knight's King. The uh, it's funny to think that this actually went up like over 4 years ago, right? Like, doesn't it
Yeah.
seem like it was yesterday?
Yeah, time flies, man. Time flies.
We were gonna watch this and see if any of the humor, like in many ways, it's remembering the finale of Game of Thrones with it, but it's also to see if any of this humor, if it was ever funny, if it holds up, like so. So yeah, this is the start here. As we can see, we've got Gilbert Farwind, Jeekwe, Chad, Scrappy Doo, and is that 20 Goodman? Um, I
Wait,
think
who's Scrappy Doo? Is that Arya?
I think so. I think the idea was, and I'm
Don't
forgetting the whole
remember.
plot that because I have like my own plot of like story going on. Um, do you remember Gilbert Far like do you remember watching the original Gilbert Farwin video?
It's been so long.
There is I had like this is back when Euron hadn't even appeared yet in the show, and the Ironborn hadn't like the we I think season 5 had gone by, and we just kind of assumed that they'd cut the Ironborn plot completely.
No,
All
no,
the
no. Well, I
fans.
think I think I know what happened. I remember that character because it's Yara at the very end of season three saying, "I'm
Hmm.
going to sail up the Weeping River and save my brother," and she's walking on her ship, and
Yeah,
that guy turns to look at her. Is that
right. It's kind of and it's just like when reading the Kingsmute chapter, Gilbert Farwind is obviously one of the claimants, and he I remember Googling like picture of Ironborn, and that was the only one that like came up was that guy that turns to the camera during the Yara trip. And so I was like, okay, this is Gilbert Farwind, right? So, in the original what happened to the Ironborn video, it's a redo of the Kingsmoot, but rather than like Euron arrives, but then Gilbert Farwind interrupts him and does his Gilbert Farwind speech and won't let Euron speak, and then everyone like screams for Gilbert Farwind, and everybody goes west with Gilbert Farwind, and that's the end. And that was the explanation on why in the show they cut Euron and everything.
and
So
then
and I
Euron comes back, and then
yeah.
you we all wish he was cut. Yeah.
And I think for Euron I used Dario in that video.
Wasn't that because there's like a theory that Euron is Dario in the
Yeah, yeah.
books?
At least at the time, the
Hmm.
Forsaken chapter hadn't come out yet. Which shatters the Euron is Dario theory, which is too bad because Euron Dario theory is fun as hell. Um. So yeah, I think, and then Jeekwe just magically vanished in the show, and we have no explanation on like where she went. Um. And so she just became, considering that she's like such an important character in the book, and then she just like disappears. And then 20 good men, I guess, for Ramsay's like defeat of Stannis so easily. Like 20 good men. I need 20 good men. Yeah, Scrappy Doo is just like somebody annoying who's like OP'd, right? That's Scrappy Doo. All
It's
right, all
Arya.
right. Too much talking. Here we go.
I did it! I, Gilbert Farwind, have become king of everything. Krakens rule. This is going to be a long, 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 prosperous reign.
Gilbert Farwind is dead, murdered by Gilly, and for some reason that Kraken is attacking a replica of a Star Destroyer.
Oh my god, that's so awesome. Kraken versus a Star Destroyer? Fuck yeah!
Of course, that's that's making a joke about the dragon attacking the Iron Throne with that one, Carmine.
What do you mean? I like how you say you think that's what the joke is. You don't remember? You don't remember your storyline?
I'm pretty sure that's the joke.
It's like symbolic and stuff.
We need to try Gilly for her crimes. I have gathered a 100% impartial council. Welcome, Gilly's sister, Gilly's other sister, Gilly's other sister, Gilly's cousin, Gilly's best friend, Gilly's aunt, Gilly's advisor, Gilly's handmaid, Gilly's mechanic, Gilly's dentist, Gilly's tax attorney, the woman who mows Gilly's lawn, Gilly's mailwoman, and the Prince of Dorne. Let the justice begin.
And our episode...
Oh, you're laughing at your joke. You're laughing at your joke.
I just love it. I'm fucking shit. Oh, the small council, like the fact that Grey Worm calls together Jon Snow's brother, Jon Snow's sister, Jon Snow's other sister, Jon Snow's sister's boyfriend, Jon Snow's advisor, Jon Snow's best friend, and the Prince of Dorne. All right. Okay.
begins with Tyrion walking, and walking, and walking.
You know, they just had to rush this season. There was just no time.
Fun fact, 7.5 minutes of this episode are dedicated to Tyrion walking in silence. That's what, 1/3 of the runtime of a sitcom?
Well, to be fair, this is a much bigger joke. Anyway, Kit Harington then stumbles upon Grey Worm executing prisoners. He tries to stop him, and Grey Worm says that these were free men who chose to fight for Cersei. Free, huh? I think someone needs to explain how feudalism works to Grey Worm.
And the showrunners. Tyrion then heads down to the catacombs, which have somehow mysteriously healed since last episode. I mean, I seem to remember all of these arches collapsing in a domino fashion. But nope, it's all back together again.
Who knew that all Jaime and Cersei needed to do was hide underneath the dragon skull?
Whatever the case, Tyrion then...
I mean, all that's true. You know, at this point, it's like nitpicking. Not really funny, but it is true. It is like, I don't know. I don't know if this annoyed you at all when you saw the final episode, Carmine.
Whatever. It's whatever. They needed to kill these two off in some way. They
needed to show the bodies and have Tyrion's reaction and everything.
Yeah.
then defies astronomical probabilities and finds a needle in a haystack. There's Jaime.
Wow, Tyrion and Euron have a sixth sense in that they can locate Jaime with ease. Are they all Highlanders?
Well, you know, there is something about Jaime.
Wait a minute. You've never seen Highlander, right?
I could send you a screenshot right now of it actually downloaded. I have to watch it. But I'm assuming the Highlanders can detect each other within a certain radius.
Exactly. And it's just kind of a joke because like when they do, it's like it's the same with like the Highlander series. It's like he's doing something, everything's fine, and then all of a sudden there's like a ring, and then he's like, "I've got to go," and then he like leaves, and the Highlanders find each other to battle. Yeah.
Jaime Lannister that makes him easy to find. It doesn't matter if he's hanging out on a Dornish beach or trying to sneak through army lines or sitting on the bottom of a lake. If you want to find Jaime Lannister, you can find him.
I mean, unless you're Emilia Clarke, who was like 60 feet away. Anyway, Jaime and Cersei's bodies are easily uncovered and impossibly preserved after being crushed by thousands of tons of brick. Their plot armor extending well beyond death.
We then get to...
Yeah, what did you ever think of like the Jaime Lannister sinking parallel to to Bran falling from the tower thing? Did I mean, I think most fans were really annoyed at the plot armor stuff, but I don't know. Did you get any satisfaction with the Bran parallel? That like no
Not
one
really.
would survive? Yeah.
Not really, no.
Yeah.
I also didn't realize what... Okay, you actually reminded me. I didn't realize how true it was that everyone seems to know where Jaime is regardless. It's like his fucking golden hand is a beacon. Everyone has like the GPS to it. They just know where this motherfucker is. I didn't realize how fucking... This is annoying me all over again. This is annoying me all over again. That's true. I didn't realize that.
Oh no, this is my scene. It's amazing how much I grew to hate Arya by the end of the series. I don't know if there was like it just...
You hated her shit-eating grin?
I did quite a bit, but like stuff, but also just I don't know. I mean, it was also just how inconsistently it was written. And I'm remembering this scene specifically because
Wolverine, who's...
Whoa. Where the hell is her horse?
Yeah, you got me.
Wasn't she riding out of the city, like away from the Red Keep?
I think so.
So they ended last episode with this weird, jarring Equus ex machina with everyone scratching their heads, and then they just removed that element? Why? Why include the horse in the fucking first place? Tyrion even walks by the friggin' horse girl's dead body earlier in the episode. But now we're supposed to forget that Arya was last seen riding off on a mysterious horse? Did the writers of episode 5 even talk to the writers of episode 6? What was the point of the goddamn horse?
Well, I mean, what was the point of Kinvara, or Kit Harington riding a dragon, or friggin' time travel? At this point, we just have to accept that there are a million crucial things that are just never going to be explained. Like how D&D were given a Star Wars trilogy.
Anyway, Kit Harington made
I guess that was taken away.
That was taken away, yeah. Apparently,
Yeah.
from what we hear from rumors, Three Body Problems supposed to be fucking phenomenal, but Three Body
yeah.
Problems complete, so.
Yeah. It's funny to think about, like, at the time we were like still thinking that they were gonna get that Star Wars trilogy. That white horse, that was fucking weird. And then
Did she ride off on the white horse?
She finds the white horse, and then she gets on it and rides off, like, out of the city, and then she's just back. And I remember it specifically because, like, you've never seen Rob Zombie's Halloween? Actually, Rob Zombie's Halloween 2. There's this weird white horse in it for no reason, and so, like, when they just shoved this white horse, this, like, spiritual weird white horse in, I was just like, oh my god, it's like Rob Zombie's Halloween 2. It's so weird. Yeah, she rides off on this mysterious white horse, and then she's back the next episode, in, like, having not ridden off. So weird.
Makes it to the Red Keep to find Emilia Clarke, and somehow Grey Worm has beaten him there by, like, a lot. I mean, Kit Harington specifically left Grey Worm to find Emilia Clarke, but when he finds her, Grey Worm's already there. What the hell was he doing in the meantime? Did he stop to take a dump?
And then we get this shot, and I can just imagine the writer's room.
So, Arya was, on a horse.
Do we have to deal with the horse? I mean, we never dealt with those dogs and no one noticed. Dude, I got this idea. Like Emilia Clarke.
Remember the dog joke? Fucking ran that joke into the ground. The dogs and the dog net.
The dog joke?
So back in season 6, right? Season 6, Sansa and Theon are running away from.
Oh, and they're gone. I guess we're supposed to believe
they're getting chased by some dogs and some soldiers, and then Brienne comes in and slaughters all the soldiers, and the dogs are just gone. And so, like, I guess
we were supposed to believe that Brienne kills the dogs off screen, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, there was clearly, like, another scene that was just, like, cut or something, but it was just like the dogs were gone. And so I think in the season 6 watch, they're like, dogs just don't disappear, and then Chad Summerchild, like, opens the door for a pizza, and the dogs, like, maul him. Yeah, I think, and then I think the three-eyed bro is a dog. One of the and then he returns. It was a complicated plot. It was a very complicated plot with the three-eyed bro.
We'll be walking, but then there'll be this dragon behind her, and then the wings will be up, and then it'll look like Emilia Clarke has wings, and it'll be awesome. Yeah, sure, why not? What were we talking about? I think we were talking about how we need more scenes of Tyrion walking. Anyway, Emilia Clarke then makes a big stump speech to her followers about how the...
By the way, I'm thinking of Three Body Problem. Are reviews coming in for Three Body Problem already? And do you trust them?
There were early reviews from people who had seen it, and I guess they leaked or something like that. People were talking about it, and they said it was good, so... we'll see. By the way, I never liked the Daenerys. I was actually very surprised. A lot of people were a fan of the Daenerys dragon wings thing. I thought it was super lame.
Yeah,
like
it's just
wasn't
it's just obvious.
Fan of that.
There's nothing nothing too. I mean, it's I don't know. I don't even know like what classification. Like even like it seems like something that would be in a like a Transformers movie or something. But but even that I don't think they'd be so obvious, you know.
Well, is the implication that she is now the dragon, or she's a devil
I
or a
think it's more like
demon?
she's a demon, yeah. Like
Hmm.
I think the implication is she's a demon now. But
The war isn't over and how they need to continue to break the wheel. The metaphor is not exactly great. One would think that once one breaks the wheel, you wouldn't have to keep breaking it. Nonetheless, everyone is super excited, and I'm sure this
look at this guy's hair. It's so ridiculous. Like
That widow's peak is on fire.
that
God
shoe
damn.
polish fake wig hair thing they got going on here. That's such a weird one, and they like focus on him. Like that's not a regular that's somebody in like a vampire Halloween costume that they got at like Halloween Spirits. Like or whatever. Like that's not a
Holy
real hair.
spirits.
No one has hair like that. It's so weird. Is he wearing a hood? Is he wearing a hat?
motivation will be enduring.
Anyway, Kit Harington, Wolverine, and
What
Tyrion
did I
watch
say
on.
there?
One breaks the wheel, you wouldn't have to keep breaking it. Nonetheless, everyone is super excited, and I'm sure this motivation will be enduring.
Anyway, Kit Harington, Wolverine, and Tyrion
Yeah.
watch on, acting like they understand High Valyrian. Tyrion's inability to speak is a running joke, and we have no evidence that Kit Harington or Wolverine ever studied the language. I guess they have Duolingo or something.
By the way, do the Dothraki even understand High Valyrian? Are there translators everywhere? It did occur to me that Emilia Clarke's army is not really structured for big motivational speeches.
Whatever, it all doesn't matter. Look how far away she is from everyone. The only thing people are hearing is wind and horse whinnying.
Anyway, Tyrion then
That's
walks
so
in and
true.
declares,
That's true. I
That's
think
so, hey,
I think years ago I had seen a video that was like Braveheart, but if it were real. And it shows a guy, it shows like, you know, Mel Gibson on a horse being like, and then he turns and you can't hear anything and there's just wind. And everyone's like, what is he saying? I don't know. Like,
that's the same joke. I remember making the same joke at the very end of 300. You know, Zack
yeah.
Snyder's 300. At the very end, the fucking guy that's left out of the 300, he has like a huge army behind it. Xerxes wore its face, obliteration. And the AU like waves back, and like, how can you guys in the back know what he's saying? Like, how can you hear him? I remember this specifically. Yeah, same thing here.
Yeah.
And that's so true. That's so true that her army really is not equipped to be bilingual. So how do they really
Right.
know
I
what
mean,
she's
she
saying?
should have been speaking to them in Dothraki, you know,
Hmm.
but oh well. Oh well. Oh well.
You can't fire me, I quit. And Emilia Clarke gives him a look that says, oh, I can fire you.
And Wolverine is suddenly there, and she tells Kit Harington that Emilia Clarke is bad and that she knows a killer when she sees one. Keen eye, Wolverine. Keen eye. I'm glad that assassin's training helped you notice the 500,000 dead bodies.
Anyway, Wolverine says that Emilia Clarke needs to die because she's going to kill Sandra for refusing to kneel. Of course, Sandra would likely die if she refused to kneel to any monarch she wasn't related to, but whatever.
I really pushed that Sandra joke as well.
So I never known. It just went over my head. I didn't. Whatever. I did not know that Liana Mormont back in season 6 said that Lady Sandra is a Belton. Like, I didn't.
Yeah.
I did not hear the Sandra part, and I feel like a lot of the people either didn't hear it or they heard it and they're like, "That's a kid. Let it go."
Well, here's the thing: is in real life, your brain edits
Yeah.
like people's speech when like people make mistakes all the time when they speak, and you edit them out, and they edit them out, and like people don't even think about it. You don't think about incomplete sentences. You don't think about mispronunciations a lot. You know, a lot of these things are just edited out, and you move on. And so like it's only that, you know, you've got us watching the episodes over and over again, and like people all like huge audiences listening and realizing these things. And yeah, wait, did
By
she
the
did
way,
she say Sandra? Yeah.
By the way, I feel like I already understand and know your problem with Arya, and this is my problem too. I'm gonna be an asshole here. It's hard to take someone seriously who's like 5'1" and thinks they can kill everybody. I say this as a
They
short
just
person
say this as
myself.
a somewhat short guy.
I know. But here's the thing though. Arya has only ever had like two versions of two different personalities. She's only ever been like helpless and but sassy, and after
Mm,
the whole training thing, she's now overconfident and sassy, which comes
yeah.
off very douchey. But then when with the shit-eating grin, it's like, okay, you think you're badass, but you shouldn't be because you're literally 5'1" with a
Hmm.
very shitty breakable weapon that should not be like
Yeah.
like it's kind of
Well,
it's.
have you ever seen any Jet Li movies?
I have the one.
What? Yeah, the one is actually a really fucking fun movie. But what's the one where he's dating the black girl and he plays football and like beats everybody up on the football field? Have you seen that one?
Is it Kung? No, not Kung Fury. It's Shaolin Soccer. No, that's probably not
No,
it.
no, 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 no. It's like an American one even.
Oh,
Um,
let's see if I can find it. Romeo Must Die.
Romeo Must Die. Yeah.
Hmm.
Um, but what's great about that movie and why it works and why Jet Li kind of works is that he walks in and he's super short, and so everybody underestimates him. And then when he does like some awesome fucking stuff, he's the underdog, right? He's always the underdog. He's always the scrappy one, right? And so you can't like ever be when you're the underdog. You can't ever be like the arrogant one walking in. And so the weird thing about Arya is that she was the underdog, and then all of a sudden she's this arrogant fuckface, and it doesn't work. Like, um,
It doesn't work. I know people have thrown at both you and me by saying, "What? You have a problem because she's a strong female?" No, it's not it. It's just the attitude is so jarring. She goes straight from like
mhm,
helpless and curious and still a little sassy to incredibly overconfident because she
yeah,
happened to trick the waif into fighting on her terms because she was blind. Of her.
yeah,
But the faceless men assassins, they aren't Jet Li. They kill you in very crafty and shadowy ways, usually through poison, like she did with Walder Frey, or just sneaking up on you. But here she is fighting Brienne to somewhat of a standstill. That's kind of
yeah,
ridiculous.
yeah,
Brienne's like weight and power. Brienne overpowered Jamie and
yeah.
and the
And
Hound.
Brienne trained her whole life. She
Right.
didn't have a montage. Like, like,
Montage is the secret formula, I
oh
guess.
no. Yeah, it was a little too fast. And I mean, I don't know, had they had her training from the beginning or something, but
And we
Well,
got a Kit
to be
Harington missing.
fair, to be fair on that one, technically Arya has been training since episode 3 of season 1 with Syrio,
well, I mean,
and
she trained a little bit with Syrio,
she has kept up her water dancing, and she did this even after she left King's Landing.
Guess they needed to show more scenes and they needed to have a little more fighting or something, showing her abilities. Um,
And the serial actor, to be fair, I know that's my catchphrase at this point. The
mm,
serial actor, he's a short man as well, and he was able to
yeah,
take out what four Lannister guards in full suits of armor. Which okay, fine, but even then, that's a grown man who's taller than Arya, despite being short himself. And
yeah.
he's not really using force, but he's using specific movements. So if Arya was using like specific agility like movements, like a spider monkey, sure, but that's not what she's doing. She's kind of like,
But they don't even set it up. They don't we never see her doing like some sort of agility test where she's dodging stuff in an agile way like that. We never see her in a fight where she's like hiding swords behind her back and doing stuff like that. We saw her like with a staff and the waif, and that's it.
also, once again, I'm going to throw this out there. Let's all keep in mind that at this point, Arya is what, 15, 16.
Oh,
So
I think by the end, I mean by the end they've declared her legal, right?
I hope so. Whatever.
She's 18 by the end.
Tyrion in jail, and Tyrion tells Kit Harington that Emilia Clarke needs to die because of what she sounded like when she was addressing her soldiers. Again, neither speaks High Valyrian. Kit Harington protests and says she's not her father, and Tyrion begins to outline all the evil people that she killed and how she is becoming more confident in her rightness. And from that, Tyrion thinks that Emilia Clarke will start killing everyone.
Yeah, this is not exactly the best logic. Don't get me wrong, killing all the innocent people in King's Landing was horrible and inexcusable, but in no way did this have anything to do with Emilia Clarke being convinced she was right. She just did it. And if a ruler's conviction is the problem, why does Tyrion later recommend the Brand 9000? He seems to have conviction in spades.
Anyway, Tyrion says that he knows Kit Harington loves Emilia Clarke, and Kit Harington says that love is the death of duty.
And that's a season 1 reference.
And Tyrion counters that duty is the death of love. And we are in Yoda gibberish territory. Fear leads to anger, anger leads to hate, hate leads to suffering. You can play this gibberish game all day with any words and sound super deep. Just take an abstract concept, send it in some sort of general direction, and then it becomes another abstract concept. Dignity is the peak of ambition.
Yeah, I wonder if that. Yeah, it. I mean, it's a bit of trashing George here because like love is the death of duty. Like you can pick anything, right? And say that, you know, like.
Wait, what did you say that? Ambition is the dignity is the peak of ambition. Is that it?
Something like that. Something.
Go back 5 seconds. Let me hear that again.
Send it in some sort of general direction, and then it becomes another abstract concept. Dignity is the peak of ambition. Empathy is the rise of community. The internet is the gravedigger of fascism.
My toilet is the death of duty.
You gotta put something like this in the fucking. You gotta put something like this in the fanfic. Editors, get to work on that one, please. Just put it in there for some. God, Jesus Christ, you have to at this point, just for the meme.
But I was reminded of the red letter media where they're like, fear leads to suffering, suffering leads to hate, and he's like, well, wait a minute. Couldn't you say that suffering leads to fear and fear leads to hate? Or could you say that hate leads to suffering and suffering? You're right. This is all pointless. Like, love is the death of duty. Duty is the death of love. Like, you know, it doesn't mean anything. Like, neither one of those phrases mean anything once you like think about them too much. But whatever. It's I mean, it's more of like it's something that George had that sounded cool, but once you actually examine it, it's kind of silly. Love is the death of duty. Like, okay, is that a bad thing? Like, is duty greater than love? I mean, it could be anything is the death of duty. Laziness is the death of duty. Sleep is the death of duty.
He is the death of my toilet. Next, we get to Kit Harington heading to the Red Keep, and we find out that the showrunners don't understand anything about snow. Has any of them ever experienced a single snowfall? I thought they all spent time in Iceland. We just saw Drogon like 15 minutes ago, and now he's completely covered. The snow is accumulating that fast, because there's like a 1/4 inch of snow on the ground, and Kit Harington is walking around with no problem. The piles of rubble are only lightly dusted, but this living, high metabolism, fire-breathing dragon is completely covered. How did this scene happen?
Yeah, so I think Maisie Williams needs more screen time. We could have her tell John that Danny is a killer. Isn't that obvious?
Dude, I got this idea for a cool scene. Kit Harington is walking around, and there's piles of snow, and then one of them will be Drogon! Fuck yeah!
Yeah, why not? What were we talking about?
Why not?
So next we get Emilia Clarke.
It is kind of true that they're just kind of going through and being like, well, what's a cool scene?
Was that confirmed to be snow or a mix of snow and ash?
Yeah, we don't even know at this point, right? I mean, I do think if there was one thing about the episode that I thought was clever is the fact that in her vision, you think it's snowing over King's Landing and it's actually ash. But I think it does actually like start snowing. I think a lot of this is snow, right?
I have no idea, because winter was supposed to have come, and then as Jamie is leaving at the end of season 7, it starts to snow, and then it stops completely. So, and by episode 4, where Cersei has Missandei, there's no snow to be found anywhere.
I think
So
the sound of snow is like the crunch and everything. They keep having it in the episode, if I remember it, if I remember correctly, that it does look like snow close up. In fact, as clever as that bait and switch is, I think when I went back to the House of the Undying vision, it's very clearly snow. Like it's not fucking ash, like it's very clearly snow. Like I think it's a really fun bait and switch had they thought it through, but I guess back in season 2 they hadn't. But maybe I should check on that. Um uh
Mother of dragons.
let's see here. Does she go in? Trying to think. Fire. Where's the right? She's got a.
that's not the Vision video.
What's that?
That's not the Vision video, I don't believe.
No, I thought she doesn't. She have these visions when she, or does she have the vision later?
Does. She does, yeah. And at the very end of the vision, she sees Khal Drogo and her son.
Yeah. But here she's just.
No, that video specifically does not have that clip.
Oh. Why not? Oh, here it is. That's right. Here it is. I remember she yeah, this is it. Like she goes up and she touches. See, like you can very clearly see it's like crystallized snow.
Right, but you can also interpret it as snow is all around her, Jon Snow specifically. Kind of like how in the books, Melisandre has a moment where she's asking the Lord of Light to show her a sign, and all she can see is snow. Get it? Jon Snow, snow.
Right. I see. The somewhat being like the chink in the wall from the books, but had it been a little more ambiguous then, but they weren't actually thinking about it at the time. But I do think I will grant that it's a clever bait and switch to have it be ash floating down at the end.
Finally experiencing her House of the Undying vision. Where those visions came from exactly, who the fuck knows? All we know is that it was vitally important for someone or something to send Emilia Clarke this moment in time. It completely changed everything.
Well, hold on, Brandon. Let's try to make an argument for it. So this moment matches Emilia Clarke's vision. So perhaps it strengthened her resolve about being right, and so when Kit Harington comes in and talks to her, she seems overly confident and nuts. He had no idea that she just received divine confirmation of her actions.
Who would want to engineer all of that?
A time-traveling Bran? The Bran 9000 planned it all!
I mean, why bother? If Kit Harington didn't kill Emilia Clarke, I'm pretty sure Wolverine would have.
Right, but then Kit Harington would be king. He needed Kit Harington to disqualify himself by committing regicide to pave the way for the Bran 9000.
Right, but if the Bran 9000 is that powerful, why not just time travel warg Drogon and roast them both?
Huh, yeah, that would be a lot easier.
Anyway, then in one of the most...
Stabs, I mean... I'm sure like some fans were like thinking about this being the Nisa kind of thing. But you just everything's so dramatic here. Again, it's like every scene, it's like, oh, we have to frame it so we have Daenerys and Jon and the Iron Throne in the background. Everyone's gonna think this is so great. Is that little dragon like busting out of her chest like an alien?
Committing regicide to pave the way for the Bran 9000.
Right, but if the Brand 9000 is that powerful, why not just time travel warg Drogon and roast them both?
Huh. Yeah, that would be a lot easier.
Anyway, then in one of the most comically absurd scenes ever put to film, Drogon chooses to not kill Kit Harington, but instead melts down the Iron Throne. Yep, that's right, the dragon understands the perils of war and the evils of monarchical rule. Who knew that Drogon had been writing a 5th grade book report? How on earth did this happen?
So, how are we gonna have Jon survive this scene? Well, I was thinking heavy-handed symbolism. Really? Guys, I just came up with the most awesome scene. So, Drogon is about to kill Kit Harington, and then, out of friggin' nowhere, Ghost will jump out and will bite Drogon's eye, and Kit Harington will be like, "You followed me down here," and Drogon will be all angry, and then out of nowhere, Nymeria will jump out and bite the other eye, and then she'll have her whole wolf pack, and it'll be like hundreds of wolves, and they'll like smother the dragon, biting it to death. Oh my god, can you imagine anything more awesome? Yeah, the heavy-handed symbolism works for me.
Drogon then flies off with Emilia Clarke's body.
Nymeria is still out there. Ghost is still out there. Drogon is still out there.
Yeah. Well, Nymeria, that's who cares about that? That's over. I know Dave and Dan. So I read the episode, not the episode. I read the book "Fire Cannot Kill a Dragon," the making of the whole show, and I don't recall them ever commenting on this situation because I really want to know what Dave and Dan were thinking when they had Drogon melting the throne. You could argue that yes, it's about ending the final power struggle, the symbolic power struggle of this whole show, the end of the Game of Thrones. Sure, but it's still one of the most fucking stupidest moments in television history. And I'm not exaggerating, it really fucking is.
It's very odd because in another interview, Dan and Dave said that themes are for 5th grade book reports. Meaning they just they don't care about that and they just kind of have the events happen. And I've heard other people like Stephen King talk about that too, that he doesn't worry about themes or meanings. He just writes and then other people can apply those things later. He doesn't think about them. And I believe it with Stephen King, but it's how can you have the statement that themes are for 5th grade book reports and then have that scene which clearly has the theme? It's so heavy-handed. It's one of the most heavy-handed things you could possibly do. And yet, they claim that they don't do themes, but clearly they did, clearly they do. Unless it was just told to them, George R.R. Martin was like, no, that needs to happen. It's just an event that has to happen.
I found this here from comicbook.com. However, she wasn't alive to sit on. Drogon decided that no one will. Apparently, that's the only reason the dragon needed to destroy it. There's nothing more to that. He's quoting here, if she's not going to sit on it, no one's going to sit on it. Game of Thrones co-runner David Benioff said on the Game of Thrones Season 8 commentary track. Okay. Okay.
Why didn't he kill Kit Harington then?
If Drogon was throwing a tantrum, fine. Then have him throw a tantrum where he destroys the throne room in fire and rubble. Okay, but he just specifically roasts the throne. It's stupid.
He specifically roasts the throne, and also if he's going on a tantrum, have it be that Jon Snow has to duck out of the way at least. Here he's just standing. The dragon very clearly chose not to kill him.
And since no one was around to witness the murder, we have to assume that Kit Harington was dumb enough to march right up to Grey Worm and confess his crimes.
And then we jump to weeks.
Yeah, that's the other thing is no one knows that he killed Daenerys because Daenerys' body's gone. She's just missing.
Yeah, that's true.
And she's flown off before.
Later for an end-all of end-all illogical scenes. This is the finale. Why wouldn't one think it would all end this way? Let's keep in mind that Grey Worm has, by far, the most powerful army in Westeros. Not to mention he has somewhat of an alliance with the Prince of Dorne and the Ironborn, who has the only fleet that we know of. Grey Worm holds all of the cards, and he wants justice for Tyrion, a traitor who conspired to kill his queen, and Kit Harington, who killed his queen. And one would think that with the death of Emilia Clarke, the Unsullied and Dothraki would go into a blind rage and start slaughtering everyone in Westeros. After all, they did that to King's Landing over the death of Missandei, so one would think that the death of Emilia Clarke would lead to much, much more. And continuing war was Emilia Clarke's last speech.
So I disagree on Grey Worm having the most powerful army in Westeros. Grey Worm only commands the Unsullied. I doubt that Dothraki would follow a eunuch into battle.
I mean, he was specifically named her master of war.
Right, because they follow her specifically, but she's gone. So right now they're just a blade without someone to wield it, pretty much.
I mean, if they were truly Dothraki, then immediately another Khal or several Khals would rise up and try to lead them. And then, so you'd have, her Khalasar of whatever, 40,000 might split into, 4 other Khalasars led by, some sort of former Co or whatever. But they'd still be, maybe they wouldn't follow Grey Worm. They'd still be a major force, like a major, major force in Westeros, causing massive problems.
I also disagree on that because we saw the Dothraki effectively end when they charged into the White Walkers in episode 3. So whatever force is left is, I would assume that a couple hundred. Couple hundred is enough to like storm down, I guess, the Golden Company, maybe a couple thousand, but I'm pretty sure what's left of Westeros could handle a couple thousand Dothraki, right? They're not the same force they were in episode 3 or 4 of season 7 where they face off on the Golden Road.
Well, I'm looking at
Road.
I mean, look how many are in front of her right here in this.
And I also think in the commentary track, Dave and Dan, one of them said, what Dany is witnessing is the end of the Dothraki as they charge into the White Walkers. So whatever's left here looks like a couple hundred.
Nah, more than a couple hundred. I would say at least a couple. I mean, in front of Dany, there seems to be a couple thousand.
Okay.
I mean, there seems to be now. We've got this huge Unsullied army, right? And then, which I mean, just counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13.
Oh my god!
I mean that this seems to be like a row of 50, and that's just up
right,
to the
Unsullied.
End of
but if Dany's dead, I don't think.
But it's the same. You can kind of like take a little piece here and be like, okay, how many Dothrakian horse are in this like square? You could say, okay, there's like 20 in this square, and then you can like multiply the number of squares and see like how many you get. And so I think it's at least 1,000.
Sure, but even a couple of thousands, I think there are still so many soldiers left that could easily take them out, or maybe not easily, but they'd be a pain in someone's ass. Regardless, I think people could come together and wipe out the last remaining Dothraki if they didn't fracture into different Khalasars, whatever there's left. And there's no way they're going to team up with the Unsullied. Dany held that whole situation together. Without her,
I mean, it's just these like weird regenerating armies that happen over and over again. Like at the end, Jon Snow has a northern army, and you're like, that's just impossible at this point, But, I don't know. It made it seem like there were a lot of Dothraki. She's talking about like conquering the world after that, but I don't know. Oh, but fine. Even eliminate the Dothraki then. We still have what? A few thousand Unsullied. That's still a pretty fucking awesome army. Who's up against him?
Did Sweet Robin ever commit his full forces of the Vale?
We don't know, I guess.
At the very end of everything, did the Tyrells ever commit their full force, whatever's left of them? But I guess that's all fragmented as well.
Tyrells aren't even at the small council, at the Great Council.
Right, they're gone. And
I mean, realistically, Dorne. Realistically, Dorne is
Dorne and the Vale.
Dorne and the Vale. They should just be like divvying it up, but not handing the kingdom to the Starks.
Yeah.
Speech. She gave it to a rowdy crowd who all seemed quite bullish on the idea.
Yeah, I can't make much sense of this. Is Emilia Clarke suddenly the Night King? Does killing her cause everybody else to collapse? Plus, didn't they have a take no prisoner policy earlier in the episode? I'm supposed to believe that the Unsullied and the Dothraki wouldn't have immediately executed Tyrion and Kit Harington? Whatever, I guess it's their way now to coolly keep prisoners alive and assemble the...
I mean, they should have just immediately killed Tyrion and Jon Snow. There's no reason that they would have kept them alive. It's just so ridiculous. It is kind of really just ridiculous, considering that they were executing prisoners.
Worst Great Council ever. Grey Worm wants justice, and I can't even make this shit up. He decides the best way to get it is to make a council of the murderer's sister, the murderer's brother, the murderer's other sister, the murderer's best friend, the murderer's sister's sworn sword, the murderer's hand, the murderer's sister's boyfriend, the murderer's sister's cousin, the murderer's sister's right-hand man, the murderer's sister's uncle, and a bunch of random fucks. Honestly, who would be this goddamn stupid? This is who should be on the Great Council. 1. Yara Greyjoy. 2. The Prince of Dorne. 3. No one fucking else. No one else sitting there was aligned with Emilia Clarke and cares about justice. The only reason Grey Worm should have called these people together is to red wedding them all.
Anyway, somehow Tyrion, a man who conspired to kill Grey Worm's queen...
You're not convinced. I mean, if the Dornish are the strongest and the Ironborn fleet, right? The Ironborn fleet still exists?
The Ironborn fleet, for the most part, should also be fragmented because, remember, Dany spent a good chunk of time before she turned on King's Landing fucking them up. And she blew up a lot of ships. So whatever's left of the Iron Fleet, Yara has to go and wrangle everybody up from Blackwater Bay, where they were stationed.
I'm trying to remember what happened to the Iron Fleet. Okay, they went around and they took Casterly Rock, and then they came back. Oh, right, she flew around with her dragon and burned a bunch of ships in the battle. I just don't know if she burned them all.
I doubt she burned them all, but she fucked up enough to where, once again, they're leaderless, they're fragmented. Either some of them are just going to go back home, and that's when they'll get wrangled up by Yara, Asha, Yara, whatever. And the other ones, I guess, will desert, go to the Stepstones, be pirates, whatever. That's what I'm assuming. There's always desertion in there somewhere.
Still, Prince of Dorne. We can't. I mean, I know that some Dornish were on those ships when
You're on attack at night.
When you're on attack the Sand Snakes, but like you can't say that the entire Dornish army was destroyed. Like really, the Dornish should be killing them all. Dornish conquer all.
And despite being told to shut up many times, won't shut up. He tells Grey Worm that it's not Grey Worm's decision to enact justice, but that of a king.
I'm sorry, but Grey Worm has all of the power. It is his decision. He is effectively king, and I have no idea why he hasn't already slit Kit Harington and Tyrion's throats and everybody sitting here. I mean, perhaps one could argue that killing Kit Harington would bring on war with the 15 people left in the Northern Army, but honestly, who cares about killing Tyrion? Podrick Payne? Who else? No one alive gives a shit about Tyrion Lannister.
Anyway, Grey Worm tells her...
It's just so weird, like the whole, like, it's not your choice. It's our choice with the king. And it's like, fuck you. She killed my queen. Like, why would he fucking care? Why would he care?
It's not your decision to make. It's not your choice.
You know, like, Grey Worm loves Daenerys. He fucking loves Daenerys. I just couldn't imagine. I couldn't imagine any human being, you know, unsullied, like a regular person, if their leader gets killed, is going to be upset about it. Like, and then Grey Worm, who is just like owes everything to her, and it's just so dedicated and devoted, and to have it see, this was supposed to be like fun and funny, and I'm getting angry again.
Everyone to pick a king, and the show decides to shit on Edmure for a while, and then Sam suggests popular democracy, which everyone declares as absolute lunacy, despite the fact that the Ironborn and the Night's Watch effectively use this system.
Oh god, and by the way, why is Davos a minor lord there? And what current positions do Wolverine and the Brand 9000 have? Oh right, fuck all. And don't get me started on Gendry. Did he walk up to Storm's End and say, "Oh, hello, I'm Robert Baratheon's bastard and was legitimized by Daenerys Stormborn, the tyrant who just burned down King's Landing. I'll have my major lordship now. I'm sure that would go over with the Castellan really well.
Anyway, Tyrion then puts forth
Sure, there's no enforcement of that. How did he get Storm's End?
That's a good question. But at the same time, Davos is somewhat of a minor lord, right? Isn't he the Lord of Rainwood, technically?
Yeah, Rainwood's a pretty minor house. Yeah.
I mean,
I mean,
everyone's fucking gone.
if you're listing like Stormland houses, it's like 10th down the list.
Yeah, but who else is left
he's not the
alive
Lord
to
of
really-
Rain House. He's the Lord of lands in the Rainwood.
There it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. He's probably more likely, like in the books at least, he's like 20th or 30th down the list of like Stormwood houses, if even there.
but he's still pretty important in the Stormlands, at least, being Hand of the King to not only the King of the North, but also the Stannis at one point, and participating in the battle for the Dawn and Winterfell.
I mean,
he was in the-
theoretically, like Gendry could have raised him up to being a greater lord or something, but then that like supposes that Gendry got the power somehow. Like, I just
didn't Daenerys declare him the Lord of Storm's End in episode 4?
But why would some Castellan in the Stormlands who's like taking care of Storm's End like care about that? Or when did he hear about it? Like, did someone send a raven and be like, "Oh yeah, no, this is binding now"? He'd just be like, "Fuck no, I'm not, like I'm ruling Storm's End." That's. Or whatever relative would come in, like Estermont or whatever, would just like take
What
it.
my headcanon would be is that Daenerys orders whoever's left at Storm's End to recognize Gendry as the Lord of the Stormlands and have Gendry prepare the soldiers, whatever is left in the Stormlands, to come up and support her.
It's just I don't know. I can't really think of any way it would have worked, really, like realistically. Because it would have to be that like someone he recognizes the legitimization from Daenerys, and just like rolls over and hands it. No one disputes it. Like, these are all selfish lords, right? They're all looking for lands. No, you don't just hand. I mean, think about it in the sense of like, it's like handing somebody $50 million. Do you think when somebody gets $50 million, you don't have like relatives who suddenly jump out of the woodwork and try to get that money? That happens every fucking time. This is like the whole thing. So it's the same thing with like giving somebody a castle. Like, you've got to.
No, I agree with you, but at the same time, whoever is Castellan in the show, does he really want to go up against Daenerys and her dragons?
Well, she's dead though. And the dragons are gone.
I'm saying this is before she dies. This is in episode 4 where Gendry's declared Lord of Storm's End, and Brienne and Davos toast him.
Okay.
So maybe
he
Daenerys
has to sail
sends word
down
ahead of
there,
time,
right?
Prepare to support her taking the Iron Throne.
First of all, there's no ravens at Winterfell anymore because it's winter.
Anymore. Oh, that's true.
Okay. And so, but say they send a rider.
That'll take a month.
Who spends weeks to get down there?
Yeah. Just trying to do mental gymnastics here to make it make sense, but
maybe they send a rider to Castle Serwyn or White Harbor or something to try to get a letter to Storm's End. But I don't know if anyone would bother.
for the Brand 9000's name under the idea that stories unite us. And who has the best story? The Brand 9000. Oh gosh, this is painful. Let's assume that indeed stories unite us. Sociology of culture, Emil Durkheim, all of that, fine. How does this relate to the Brand 9000? His story is his story. Besides Mira, it doesn't affect anyone else. His story doesn't make a Dornishman suddenly get along with a Valeman. What's so aggravating about this is that the actual Middle Ages were filled with war despite common stories. I'm going to go a little obscure here, but there was this little story that nearly every European believed. It was called the Bible, and it did jack all in preventing war and unifying people. But even if we jump to the ridiculous conclusion that a really good story can unite people, does the Brand 9000 really have the best story? Better than, say, Sam, who joined the...
This was, by the way, after I did this, what, Seth Rogen was at some panel,
Yes.
and for some reason he decided to field questions on Game of Thrones, and he was just like, Bran didn't have the best story. I don't get it. Like, you're like, you're right. He just didn't have. What was that? Why did he decide to do that? But I remember it was quite funny.
The Night's Watch and traveled north of the Wall and killed a White Walker and kidnapped an incest baby and helped elect a Lord Commander and discovered what dragonglass was and cured a sufferer of grayscale and fought an army of the dead? Or Yara, who traveled the world
I mean,
and
you're
fought
right.
a
Sam has a much
joined the
better
Night's
story.
Watch and traveled north of the war and unifying people.
Let's
Even if we
be
jump to the
real.
ridiculous
Fox,
conclusion
really?
that
Like,
a really
okay.
good story can unite people, does the Brand 9000 really have the best story? Better than, say, Sam, who joined the Night's Watch and traveled north of the Wall and killed a White Walker and kidnapped an incest baby and helped elect a Lord Commander and discovered where dragonglass was and cured a sufferer of grayscale and fought an army of the dead? Or Yara, who traveled the world and fought a shirtless madman in a dungeon and lost a Kingsmoot and then had to retake the Iron Isles? Or Davos, who was a smuggler and then saved Storm's End and then fought in half a dozen battles and then was drowned and came back to life and then helped resurrect Kit Harington? Or Wolverine, who traveled the world, was blinded, trained to be an assassin, changed her face, killed the Night King, and was also stabbed and came back to life. Man, a lot of these characters have been resurrected. Bran's story is without a doubt the most boring story in the entire series. In fact, it was so boring that he didn't even appear in Season 5. He is no one's favorite character. No one's. And why would Bran's story, which is essentially him being dragged to...
Do you know anybody whose favorite character in the show is Bran?
No, I don't. I can barely find anybody whose favorite character is Sansa. It's usually Daenerys, Jon Snow, Oberyn.
Arya. A lot of people have their favorite characters Arya.
Uh,
I know. I know that Arya is not our favorite character, but there's a lot of people that are like, no, Arya is my favorite character. So.
Here's the thing. I can understand someone's favorite character being Arya from earlier seasons where, yeah, she was pretty cool back then, but Season 7 onwards, Arya,
Gotta fucking love the Prince of Dorne here, man. No speaking lines. And he just has he's able to embody Oberyn Martell. Just I'm just gonna lean back and just be the Prince of Dorne.
To a tree, giving brain damage to a stable boy and being dragged back, inspired the Prince of Dorne to unify with the Vale. Does this man look like he'd be impressed by brain damage to a stable boy? Anyway, the crew votes, and we get the highlight of the whole goddamn episode. Sweet Robin's single line. I. The Brand 9000 is chosen as king,
and if this couldn't get even more ridiculous, Sandra declares herself independent. Ugh, wasn't the whole point of this vote unity? I mean, despite Tyrion's story logic, I imagine a big reason that Bran was chosen was to keep the North in the kingdom. But now they're not, and this whole deal doesn't make any sense. I mean, now the Brand 9000 isn't even a subject of the kingdom he was elected to rule. I mean, is he even eligible to be king? And then there's the Vale. Didn't they declare themselves to be part of the North? That all got reversed? Then there's the Ironborn, who fought 2 wars for independence and whose whole deal with Emilia Clarke was for independence. Not to mention the historical desire for Dorne to be independent. Why would they suddenly want to be part of the 6 or 7 kingdoms when they don't have to? Plus, Yara was somewhat reluctant to join because the Ironborn would have to swear off Reaving. With Emilia Clarke gone, I guess they can go back to that, especially against the non-6 kingdom, the North. And they couldn't even get the name of their country right, the 6 Kingdoms. You know, it was called the 7 Kingdoms before Targaryen Unity, and it was even called the 7 Kingdoms after Targaryen Unity without Dorne. Not to mention the Iron Isles are kind of an 8th kingdom, leaving the kingdom with 7 effectively. There is absolutely no reason to change their name, except to piss off Yara, which this entire day seems to be dedicated to doing.
And so after becoming king...
I mean, there's just no way that Yara would then not change her vote. She'd just be like Sansa would be like, we should be independent. And Yara would be like, yeah, I changed my vote. I want to be independent too. It's so ridiculous.
Also, the river Edmure should also be with Sansa on that one because wasn't Robb king of the North and the Riverlands?
You're
Wasn't that,
right.
or King of the Trident? Yeah, wasn't that the title they gave him too? That was in the books, though. I don't know if it was in the show.
Right. I mean, it's definitely has to be that way. I mean, I don't remember anyone in the show ever saying like King of the Trident. But it had to be the case, right? That he was fighting for them too. Um, but yeah, and then in the end, he's king of the North and the Vale, and somehow they're split off. Um, it's just silly.
The Brand 9000's first act is to make Tyrion his hand. Tyrion, a man who by his own admission was horrible at being hand, a man who provided 0 pieces of good advice to his last monarch, a man who has a very long list of betrayals and dead bodies, including his father, his lover, his best friend, and his queen. The Brand 9000 wants him. I guess because Tyrion built him a saddle once.
And then Grey Worm, the man who holds everyone's life in his hands, the man who clearly wants to kill this imp who successfully conspired to kill his queen, just takes it.
Now, I mean, you know, even though you're arguing that Grey Worm only has control over the Unsullied, which is still thousands of people, he still has the power to just execute them all. Like, he has the power to kill them all.
What I don't understand is why the fuck they would all go into this situation without like some guards there, you know? Like,
I mean, you're right that like it is that he could red wedding them. There's no security.
Also, I mean, King's Landing is kind of a ruin at this point. What positions are there to defend? The walls are gone. Everyone can just storm in whenever they want. So, this really should have been neutral ground, not near. Well, technically, this is not really. This is the Dragon Pit, so it's kind of not in the center of the city. It's kind of like away from the city, but at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, I think they framed it like that there was this northern army that was still outside.
They did.
That had like power, but again, it was this like respawning northerners. It's just impossible because they've been through so many battles.
Remember, Jon did come with Davos down episode 5. Like there was that whole moment where Grey Worm is leading the army, and he has that moment where he's like he breathes in and breathes out and just throws his spear. There is a northern army that did come with Jon and Davos, so those guys could still be outside. And after Daenerys starts going crazy, they retreat
but
from the
I'm
city.
saying there shouldn't be a northern army. I mean, Rob went to war with the army, and then I know in the show there wasn't the same sort of Battle of Winterfell in a Clash of Kings, you know, where Roderick dies. There's not like that, but there's still then Ramsay fighting Stannis, and then there's Ramsay fighting Jon, and then there's the North fighting the others. Like there just should be nobody left.
Let's be very clear. White Harbor didn't commit their forces, even though they said they would, to the Battle of the Dawn. House Glover did not commit their forces. In fact, there is a specific moment in, I think, season 8 where Sansa someone tells Jon that House Glover decided not to come for the battle against the White Walkers.
Yeah, I remember
because they're going to hunker down. The only houses that are really totally decimated in terms of forces: Mormont, Umber, Karstark, and Bolton. So White Harbor's still there. Glover is still there. Riswell,
but they answer the call.
This
is all, but that's all before fighting the others.
No, this is all after as well, because White Harbor, Glover, all these other guys weren't there.
I'm trying to remember, like when the Lyanna Mormont shaming. No, Lyanna Mormont can't shame anyone after the battle against the others because she's dead. So the shaming scene, which I know you're.
That's at the very end of season 7. So basically, she says, like, "Where were you, Lord Manderley? House Mormont answered the call." Right, and that's the frustrating part. House Glover and House Manderley said at the very end of season 7, "We'll stand with the White Wolf." And then at the very beginning of season 8, they're like, "No, never mind, we're not doing that." And they just stayed home when the White Walkers came in episode 3. So they still have their forces.
Oh, well, then at this point, they're not following Jon. I mean, at this point, are they finally following Jon Snow? They didn't come to Winterfell, really?
No, you don't remember?
No.
I think Sansa. I remember someone specifically telling Jon Snow that House Glover will be staying home to hunker down. A good chunk of the North Army was the Vale. I think they had like 500 troops, but there was some there. I think Karstark. They brought some archers or some shit. Umber. I don't even know.
Well, I
I
remember Alice Karstark. Alice Karstark is there, and she gets killed off screen.
She gets killed. It's a deleted scene, but yeah, she gets murked.
Yeah.
A good chunk of the Northern Army, also during the Battle of the White Walkers, that was the Wildling people as well. What was left of them?
Yeah, it's just. I mean, there's no way they would have enough people. I mean, it's just no. There's just no way. Just no way. I'm sorry. Um,
He lets Tyrion live for no discernible reason. I have no clue why Grey Worm just didn't pull out his dagger and cut Tyrion's throat right then and there. Tyrion successfully conspired to kill his queen.
And then we get to Kit Harington, who, for his crimes, is sentenced to join the Night's Watch, which still exists for some reason.
Ugh, and how is this punishment for Kit Harington? Kit Harington joined the Night's Watch willingly in the first place.
that's the thing is he's a member of the Night's Watch who only is able to leave the Night's Watch because he's resurrected, but no one knows about the resurrection. So he's just a Night's Watch deserter who they're sending back to the Night's Watch. Like there's
Right,
no
but who's gonna stop
punishment.
him?
There's no
Who's gonna
punishment.
he resigns his whole position, which okay, but who's gonna the next Lord of Castle Black is what Dolores Head. Who's gonna and they're besties. So who's gonna stop him? Realistically, who's gonna report him? Who's gonna stop him?
Well, I'm saying that like convincing Grey Worm, because at the end they're like, oh well, what sort of punishment are we going to give Jon Snow for killing Daenerys? And the answer is none, because he was already in the Night's Watch. They're just sending him back to the Night's Watch.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's it. This is like somebody escaping from prison, and then their punishment for escaping from prison is prison. Well, no, like your punishment for your crime was prison. Your punishment for escaping prison is more prison. But the problem is that Night's Watch is already for life. But
So what do you think his punishment should have been here? Just death?
Grey Worm first of all, Grey Worm would have killed him immediately. Okay, if he knew that he killed Daenerys. Like the very premise that he's been kept around as a prisoner to stand trial is ridiculous, because they were.
So what you're saying is
they were executing
Grey Worm
prisoners
can't...
to start. But even beyond that, the fact that they were executing prisoners to start, Grey Worm loved Daenerys. He would have been overcome with rage, and he would have killed Jon Snow on a.
You're answering your own
level.
question. You're answering your own conundrum here. So what you're saying was Grey Worm can't condemn him to death if there is no body.
But he admits it. He admits that he confesses.
Bro, I can confess and admit to you right now that I'm a 6'2" giant with a big cock. That doesn't mean it's true. If there's no proof, there's no proof.
You're saying that Grey Worm somehow believes that there's a chance that Daenerys is alive.
I'm saying that Grey Worm. I'm making mental gymnastics here to make it make sense. Please bear with me. I'm saying that Grey Worm is somewhat honorable to say I should kill you, but there's no body, so Night's Watch for you.
This is a guy who killed like two wise masters, like just brutally without thinking about it. You know, even who were envoys. Like he has no honor. Like he'll kill whoever he fucking wants. He's fucking Grey Worm. He fucking murders envoys.
I know.
And willingly stayed after being offered a lordship by Stannis. He clearly doesn't think it's that bad. Plus, who's going to enforce Kit Harington actually stays there? His sister's kingdom and safe refuge is directly south of the wall, and his brother's is beyond that. Why on earth would Grey Worm ever agree to this deal? A deal that's not really...
I mean, it is really true that like he's his sister rules one kingdom and his brother rules the other. Like why would you leave? Why would you leave this guy?
A punishment and has no assurance that it would ever be enforced. Again, why not slit these motherfuckers' throats? Grey Worm is ceding power to a man who conspired to murder his queen and letting the guy who actually murdered her go. This is absolute insanity.
Well, whatever the case, Grey Worm just angrily stares at Kit Harington, and then the Unsullied take off for Noth, which, by the way, is famed for killing outsiders with butterfly fever. So, yay? At least
So almost every book fan like noticed that, but I don't think they knew that when they had them like sail off. They just thought it was like a nice
Yeah.
thing that he's going to go to Missandei's like homeland and like live. I'm sure that's what they thought. They didn't even think. They probably didn't think about the butterfly fever.
Yeah, it's whatever. Whatever.
Since when can they sail?
as a last fuck you to Westeros, he's left all the Dothraki behind for them to deal with. Kit Harington then says goodbye to his siblings, not bowing to the Queen in the North, but instead bowing to the king of a kingdom that he spent a total of 1 month in, almost entirely as a prisoner. And Wolverine, completely out of character, says that she's going to explore west of Westeros. I guess the whole discovering that she was not no one but a Stark and wanting to protect her family was a load of shit. Instead, a completely random throwaway line from 2 seasons ago about asking what's west of Westeros takes precedence over everything. I'm only comforted by the obvious fact that very experienced sailors like the Ironborn have discovered nothing but ocean to the west, meaning that an inexperienced sailor like Wolverine is almost certainly going to die of thirst. So, yay! We then get to...
Yeah, that is. I mean, thematically, she makes this whole thing of like, no, I'm a Stark, I'm going home. And then she just leaves.
I know your idea is that her leaving for exile would be fine because the Freys would want her, like, they would want vengeance because she killed all the Freys. Okay. That's your idea, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
she leaves to protect her family. Yeah.
Right. Well, protect her family from the Freys, which everyone fucking hates already, and what power do they have? So, but
There's
even
so
still,
many,
though,
man.
like,
There's so many Freys. Like she didn't kill any of the
true.
women. She didn't kill any of. There should have been a Frey at that small council, at that great council.
I don't know. I can't think of off the top of my head a satisfying conclusion for Arya after everything that's happened. Like, what is she gonna do? Go back to the Faceless Men? Like, what is her story? Live out the rest of her life in the North, doing whatever she wants? What's being Bran's personal assassin? Like, what is she gonna do?
I mean, I mean, if I were really like, I mean, based on the themes that they have here of her like returning home, you have her like at Winterfell, like helping rebuild something. Like she's like sitting there, like working with her hands, like trying to like bring up a barn or something. You know, like the idea is that she's home again and she's helping rebuild Winterfell and she's helping rebuild the Starks. Like that's the best I can do. You know?
But with all her talents, is just she just goes back to like a normal life. I would assume she would be one of
I mean,
Bran's
what talents
protectors in
is
the
she gonna
shadow.
do? Like exploring
Well,
on a ship?
no, true, 100%. It's stupid, but she is clearly suited for espionage, so
Mm.
and assassination. So what is she going to do? I would assume that she would be hunted down by the Faceless Men assassins because this is someone that has their abilities and it's
Mm.
unchecked. So for me, she would be hunted down for the rest of her life, and she needs to get away from her family
But you
before.
forgot she was finally no one. And you like
It's
smiled at
whatever,
her.
whatever.
Oh man. All right, this was the one scene, even though like the ink
Brienne, who seems to now be the Brand 9000's Lord Commander, despite being sworn to Sandra, the Queen in the North. I'm not sure how that all works.
Yeah, I know how it works. It's called oath breaking.
Anyway, we find that the readable portion of Sir Duncan the Tall's entry coincidentally ends exactly where the last Duncan Egg story ended. And for some reason, Sir Arthur Dane's entry has been completely altered since we saw it in Season 4. I guess Jamie retranscribed it with his left hand? Whatever the case, it still lists Arthur Dane as dying with multiple brothers at the Tower of Joy.
And then we waste more goddamn time with Tyrion adjusting chairs, and then we find out that Sam Tarly is somehow Grand Maester. Sam Tarly, a man who forswore his Night's Watch vows, forswore his maester vows, fathered children with a woman, took up lands and titles again, and who hasn't forged a single link. At best, Sam is an oath-breaking acolyte, and yet somehow he's Grand Maester.
Ooh, I messed up. He's an oath-breaking novice.
Come on. Yeah, this is incredibly stupid. Like, the Grand Maester is this asshole, really, of all people.
No one would ever choose that.
And somehow Maester Ebros, who specializes in healing, is writing histories, which is perhaps why his shitty book somehow fails to mention Tyrion, whose kidnapping triggered the War of the Five Kings, who is hand for both Joffrey and Emilia Clarke, and who killed Tywin Lannister.
No matter, it's a chummy environment with Davos on the small council as master of ships. It's good times. Tyrion killed your son. And Bronn is there as master of coin, outdoing Sam with a lack of qualifications.
No, seriously, it was quite horrific.
This is what the world needed. A catatonic king, a failure of a hand, an acolyte posing as an expert, and a cutthroat running the finances.
Get down! You just keep pushing that in there.
Anyway, the Brand 9000 wants to locate a big flying nuclear weapon, which understandably troubles Bronn, and we're left with bickering. And in our final montage, we have Kit Harington coming back to Castle Black and being forgiven by his direwolf. They always come running back. Sandra becomes queen in the north, with everyone remembering how to kneel, and we find that the big winner of all of this is Ilyn Payne.
She never got you, bro. She never got you. Congratulations, you beat her.
And in our final...
I think I'm laughing. I'm clearly laughing in the video. I'm clearly so amused by myself on that one. That might be the best joke of the entire video. They never got him. Oh, he's the only one that survived the death list, man.
Find that the big winner of all of this is Ilyn Payne.
She never got you, bro. She never got you. Congratulations, you beat her.
You can hear me laughing in there.
Yeah, I can hear you laughing.
And in our final scene, we find out that the showrunners don't understand how plant life works.
Thank God it's all over.
Do you think Kit Harington is deserting in that final scene?
Honestly, who gives a fuck? The showrunners clearly didn't. What an absolute disaster.
Perhaps it was just rushed. They just needed more time, bro. More time. Wait, what am I talking about? I have a time machine. I can go back and change everything. Wait, Chad, are you sure you want to mess with the space-time continuum? Fuck yeah, bro. Let's do it. We can go back and fix everything. Hey, Talisa, go back to Volantis. It's ridiculous that you're walking around battlefields sassing kings. Hey, Locke.
That was a little stolen. Sassing kings. I stole that joke from the Fundamentals. They said that they talked about her going around sassing kings and how stupid it was, and I was like, that is ridiculous.
What happened to Fundamentals? Do they still do their thing?
I think so. I think they do. They do, but they and their podcast, Unabashed Snobbery, they still do that, and they did it for House of the Dragon. But I think they quite like House of the Dragon, and what I liked about their podcast was them being funny and ripping and tearing apart Game of Thrones, and so it's like not as entertaining when it's just them talking about how they liked the scenes, and how they liked it, And the thing is, they also they're not really that familiar with Fire and Blood, so while they were very familiar with the books, with Ice and Fire, so in that respect, I don't know. I haven't really been listening to their stuff, but they still do it. Yeah. But the Sassin Kings.
Fuck, change your name to Vargo Hout, and if anyone asks you to go north of the wall, don't do it.
Hey Tyrion, don't send Podrick to the whorehouse. That would be really, really stupid.
Oh my god, the tripod thing.
I thought the whole thing was that he sang to them.
Maybe. I mean, is that yeah, I mean, That's a better idea than clearly what the script writers were thinking. Like, you know that.
Mm.
Like, I mean, he has that three-way in season 8 as well. In the background, you remember?
Uh.
So do you remember, like, after the battle, they're having a
Oh yeah, yeah,
party,
yeah, yeah.
and
Yeah,
like
Sansa has.
some girl comes up and wants to bang the Hound, and he's like, go away. And so her and another girl like go off with Podrick together, and he goes and he has a
Right,
three-way.
Sansa using her girls to, yeah. Okay.
I mean, maybe it was never that was our theory. That was our like better theory that Sansa was using her girls, but in fact they were just DTF. You know, there was nothing more to it than that. Um,
Mira and Osha, stop arguing. What a pointless waste of time. And Osha, go to Skagos, why don't you?
there was that random plot of like Osha and Mira not liking each other. Do you remember that? I mean, it's very forgettable.
Yeah, barely. That's barely.
Catelyn, you better Stoneheart.
Hey, Littlefinger, ever heard of Jane Poole? Also, cool it with the jetpack.
Hey Jamie, Tyrion lied to you about Tysha.
Yeah, that was completely cut. We never got the Tysha. We never got Jamie telling Tyrion that he was that it was all arranged, and they never had that like hatred.
What's the point in that? Not telling him is just to keep Tywin as an asshole, or to keep Tyrion's story even more tragic. But then again, it would still be tragic.
I mean, it's much more tragic. Like once Jamie reveals like the truth, right?
Mhm.
No, they just cut it. Like they just didn't want to deal with it.
Seems pointless.
I mean, it's like one of the most savage things about the books, right? Is that like Tyrion actually really did have like someone that liked him, and she had like the war, and what happened to her and what he did to her, what Tyrion and Tywin did to her. I mean, it's tragic. I mean, oh well, cut.
Hey Aaron, Euron molested you. Also, you have a brother Victarion. Also, Euron wears an eye patch.
Hey, Doran, you have a son, a daughter, and a goddamn Dornish master plan. Get on that shit.
Hey Tyene, no one needs any bad pussy. Hey Stannis, stop being a dumbass. You're the greatest general to ever live. Act like it.
Hey, Varys, you have a friend named Illyrio, and there's this dude, John Connington, and you have a real cause. Aegon.
They did cut out. I can't believe they never brought back Illyrio.
I don't know why. Like it would have been super super easy to do. Just, I guess, cost
Did
cutting.
the actor die? Like,
I have no idea.
Let's find out. Roger Allam. Nope, still alive. 70 years old. Would have been great. Oh well. Couldn't get him.
Hey Lyanna, I think her name is Sansa, not Sandra. Just saying. Hey Wolverine, just die. Ugh, there's too much to fix, and we only have enough plutonium for one more trip. I better make this one count. Hey George, write the book. Write the book. Write the book.
Write the book. Write the book. Write the book. Write the book. Write book. Write book. Write book. Write book. Write book. Write book.
There's the brutal piece right there.
Mm.
You knew that was coming because I mentioned it on stream.
Mm-hmm.
Oh. That, like, as a joke, I didn't think it was actually going to be 2023. I thought it was going to be well before. And now it's 2024. Ugh. Ugh. Ugh.
I can't believe it's finally here. The winds of winter. Oh man, this is going to be so awesome! Read it to me, read it to me! Prologue. Moonlight glistened off the sellsword's blades as they crested the ruddy hill. Mud gripped their worn leather soles. Rybok, Rybok, Rybok. Rybok, Rybok, Rybok. Son of a bitch!
Well, there it was.
Yeah, whatever. Just whatever. Whatever.
It was okay. So, okay. I think the beginning and ending skits were pretty funny. I think they still hold
I
up.
think it was. I think it was funny throughout. What do you mean?
Okay,
Everything holds up
okay.
still. Yeah.
Maybe I just got a little too angry, I guess, going through it. I'm just like,
No.
oh,
It's
oh.
just frustrating, but at the same time, it's like what you said, the fundamentals. At least if it's bad, we can make fun of it, and
Yeah.
that's most of the fun. I also remember like the sense of dread after like everything ended. It's like, is this really where we're gonna end? Is this it? And then House of the Dragon came out, and it's kind of redeemed it, kind of
Yeah.
not really. Didn't redeem season 8 and 7, but it's just Game of Thrones lives on. They're good material, so it is
Yeah.
what it is.
Yeah. Well, yes. It's
Did you want to check out the George recent blog thing, or did you want to
yeah,
call it a
sure.
day?
Sure. We can look at it. I have it here on the tab here. Okay. So he's been posting a lot lately.
Mm-hmm.
In the new year, his friend Howard Waldrop died on January 14th. And this is like really one of like George R. R. Martin's like big, long, old time friends. Um, in fact, he was the movie that George R. R. Martin produced recently called Night of the Cooters was Howard Waldrop's. Um, um, Howard Waldrop does a lot of like alternate history kind of stuff. Um, and so I think Night of the Cooters is about what if one of the War of the Worlds aliens like landed on a Texas town, like a kind of we handle it ourselves, independent kind of Texas town, and so it's kind of you kind of have to kind of have to know War of the Worlds to really get like everything out of it, but and but he has other like interesting stuff like that. Like I think he has a book called like the Texas Israeli War. It's a lot of alternate history stuff. So,
Right.
but yeah, this is probably super depressed George. Um, I'm sure.
I did read a bit of it of how he thinks he's the last of the Three Stooges left.
Yeah, I mean, so later, a couple days later, he posted about how he was he let's see, I think he was looking through other like old memories and it was them on a panel with two of his friends.
Mm-hmm.
And Howard Waldrop and Gardner Doizois. And then so George is yeah, he's makes me the last. Yeah, Howard and Gardner are both gone. It makes me the last of the Three Stooges, I guess. So yeah, I guess he's probably pretty depressed these days. And then he's posted about a new calendar.
Yay!
New calendar with you're saying that Starfall on the front.
I'm assuming it is because that's a House Dane night right there.
Yeah. I mean, it's an impressive castle. You're saying they'd be unable to make that.
Well, no, it's just like maybe it's because Game of Thrones has kind of like brought me down to earth a little bit when it comes to like the
Mhm.
fantastical and the big and wonderful. Because did when we were having this conversation a while ago, I personally like Dragonstone better in the show than I do
Mhm.
from the books because in the books it's almost cartoonish,
Yeah.
and I just like the unique design, the unique medieval. It's not. too crazy and grand and super fantasy-ish. This is crazy and grand and fantasy-ish. Like, that's just ridiculous.
Well, I mean, I'm trying to think of the most cartoonish parts. Like,
Of what
because
specifically, the books or
no,
the
I'm talking
show?
about this picture. I
Oh.
mean, there's a lot of cartoonish stuff in the books too, like Storm's End and the Eerie and are ridiculous. And I mean, Casterly Rock is ridiculous too. But we can kind of like compare this to, say, it looks most like something like Mont Saint Michel or something, um, in France. Um, which is probably, this is kind of like it is probably based on this picture. Mont Saint, like, right?
But even so, Mont Saint Michel looks more realistic as like that looks more like something I could see like House Dane being a part of than that other thing, which once
Yeah.
again looks very fantastical.
I mean,
And it
obviously
doesn't
this
look
is
bad.
like,
The artist did a good job, but like that looks more grounded than that. Like, what is that? That's
yeah.
insane. It's not bad. It's a beautiful drawing, but my God.
I mean, there's a lot of ridiculous stuff on here. Well, first off, like this kind of dome structure, that's going to be really hard to do. But then, um, oh, it's like somehow we're, can I zoom in on this? There we go. These mixed all these architectural styles.
This doesn't look more. So, what's the capital of House Dane? It's Starfall, right?
This Starfall.
So this looks more like it'd be a city state
I mean, it would really suck.
capable
It would
of.
be really something if this were actually High Hermitage. Storm.
I'm assuming it's Starfall, but like
Star.
Starfall is supposed to be the ancestral castle of House Dane. This looks more like a city state on the level of Minas
Right.
Tirith from Lord of the Rings. Once again,
Right.
I need to reiterate this in case people listening right now think I'm criticizing it. Beautiful artwork by the author,
Oh my god.
phenomenal. But this looks more like something akin to like Minas Tirith, a city state like Gondor would
Right. Like, think
place
about how
themselves
many
at.
people could actually live here.
Oh my God.
Hundreds, right? Hundreds, thousands,
Hmm.
maybe could live
Hmm.
inside this thing, right? So,
Yeah.
um, you don't really think of it as like a castle, right? This is
No,
like,
this is not more. It's more like like I don't want to say it's a city, but you could argue, yeah, a little bit.
yeah. Um, so where are the small folk living? The small folk are living down here in these on the lower
Hmm.
levels. Um,
Yeah.
but the window, I think the windows are all kind of, I guess that kind of scale is a little off, where some of the things seem larger than other things. I can't really get a grasp on like what a person, where a person's size with the windows and stuff. But nonetheless, it's kind of like the pale stone tower is like a minaret, and but yeah, that's
Beautiful art as always. The calendar's always impressed. The calendar's always a knock out of the park type of situation. So
oh well, yeah. Another calendar to mark the days, until um oh wait, this is a 2025 calendar
yeah. Hmm.
for next year. So
Hmm.
you can again mark the year of 2025, all the days in which the Winds of Winter is not released in the year 2025. Oh man, what do you think? What do you think about all of this? Where do you think George's head is right now?
I have no idea, but I feel bad for the guy because this is something you and I don't have experience with because we're not as old as George is, so we don't have
Mm,
to hear news about our friends dying every now and then. Which I mean, you've probably had that happen to you. I've actually started having that happen to me. A friend of mine passed away a while back, and I didn't find out until months later because I don't live around the area anymore. We catch up through Facebook, and I hadn't heard from her in quite some time. So I went on her Facebook page and I saw her family
yeah.
paying tribute to her. So it started happening to me, but I feel like to him it's happened quite a bit in the last couple of years.
Well, what happens is like when people start getting up there, and this when you start talking about like 70s and 80s, your conversations with other people start being, oh, blah 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 died. Oh, really? Oh man. And then oh, and da da da, you know, blah 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 died. Oh.
Mm.
And then like all your conversations start being like every time you see people, all your conversations start being about who died next, you know? And that's a really kind of weird thing. Makes you almost not want to have friends at that point because it would just be like it would just fill all the conversations and you'd constantly just be sad because like every
Mhm.
time it's like, oh, now another person died. Have you seen middle-aged mutant ninja turtles?
Middle-aged Mutant Ninja Turtles. No, that's the first time I've ever hearing about this. Middle-aged. Let me hear this.
It's a Saturday Night Live skit,
Oh,
and it's pretty funny. It's pretty funny, but yeah, like, but they kind of, you know, it's stuff like Raphael's at home or whatever, and he gets a phone call, and they're like, "Yeah, this is Doctor. This is from Doctor Smith's office, and yeah, we got your test results. Yeah, so you wanted to know about that bump on the back of your on your back, and
oh,
so
Jesus.
the biopsy came back, and it's turns out it's benign." You know, and he's like, "Oh, okay, yeah, great." And they're like, "Okay, thanks." And he hangs up, and then he's just like, "Oh," you know, you know. And then the next scene is like, you know, him and Donatello in the park, and they're like, "Oh man, did you hear Shredder? He what happened? Oh no, he died. Oh man, really? Oh, do we have to go to the funeral? I don't think so." You know, it's just like everything is just that, you know, like,
Yeah.
so, I mean, this is, you know, this is George's life, um, where, you know, as he gets up there, but it's where we're all going to be, where we're all going to be one day. So,
Lovely.
oh, I mean, have you seen anything else interesting that's going on here?
No. Other than him recommending Blue-Eyed Samurai towards the very end of 2023, which have you seen Blue-Eyed Samurai yet?
I
I
have not,
recommend that to you.
but I
I
did watch
recommend it to
Doorways.
you.
I did watch Doorways. I talked about it on stream. Some
Hmm.
Doorways. You did not watch it.
Not yet. Should I? Try to even give it a shot.
I think you'd find it funny.
Hmm.
It's
Wait, no,
ridiculous.
there's a Doorways comic, right?
I don't know. Maybe. I don't know. It's on Amazon Prime for
Oh,
free.
yay.
What? Give it, give it 5 minutes, and then you'll know exactly what it's
Give it
about.
5 minutes. All right, I got
It's
you.
hilarious.
Downloading it now. Let's see what's going on here.
Downloading it. You have Amazon Prime. I know you
Stop
do.
it. Stop it.
You don't.
Dare
He's
you.
like, I don't care if I have Amazon Prime. I just like torrenting everything. Like, I know you have that.
Sometimes it's just easier. Sometimes it's literally just faster.
I mean, fair enough. Fair enough. Anything? Any last things you want to chat about?
No. What's coming along with the fanfic? When are we getting Arya? When are we getting the Northern stories? When are we getting
What you want to
Jamie?
talk? I don't know about Arya. Arya is going to be a long time, but the Northern story will come next. I mean, people have been. I mean, I'm going to probably do, you know, an Aaron and a Jamie and maybe another Hota, but and maybe Cersei. I don't know, but eventually I
Realistically
know.
speaking, you are doing like you are doing Winds of Winter Part 1, and Part 1 will be what, 20 chapters, give or take 25 chapters, and it will focus on the Battle of Fire, and Battle of Blood, Iron, and then Part 2 will focus on everybody but those characters. So you'll give us Cersei, Davos, Jon, if you decide Sansa again.
I don't know
Because
if I'm like focusing it like I haven't thought about the it being in a split like feast and dance. I've just kind of I've thought about it more in like a timeline of
No, I
what.
understand, but what it's starting to sound like, because you're focusing on certain specific things. So the way I'm seeing it is everything there. That's like part one, and then part two will be like Jamie, Stannis, Theon, Yara, Davos, Melisandre. Like you're specific. It looks like you're specifically ignoring the North, the northern
No, I'm
story.
not. I'm just focusing on. So what I was thinking about, I was thinking about more in a timeline chronological sense, and dealing with like what happens before the first day of winter and what happens around the first day of winter and things like that. But
Mhm.
then I was like, okay, battle chapters tend to be together. Um, because that's how it was in a Clash of Kings. All the battles from the different perspectives of the Battle of the Blackwater was together. So I don't want to split those up. So I have the Battle of Steel together, and then I have the Battle of Fire together, and then I should have like the Battle of Blood. Maybe the Battle of Blood is split up here. But then after that's done, then we can focus on the Battle of Ice. Theon, Asha, um, and another Theon or something, Melisandre. So it's more about like not splitting up the battle and stuff like
Well,
that. Which
let me make this very clear, because how many chapters are you going to have in your Winds of Winter? 50?
75, something like that.
75? Okay, never mind. Never mind. Never mind.
Yeah,
Never mind.
yeah.
Because I thought you were going to have like 50. So at that point, you're halfway done and you haven't even focused on the northern stuff.
No, I'm a quarter way done. We're a
Okay.
quarter way done.
Quarter way. Nice.
Yeah, I mean, but it's George did a lot of this writing in the quarter, so but nonetheless, there's
George doesn't have the editors. If he only had the editors to help him
yeah,
out.
I know. But we're at 106,000 words.
Hmm.
Once we add in, the boy in the pyramid, which should come fairly soon, we'll be at 111, and then we can focus on Tyrion, things like this. Trying to get ourselves up to the third point, and I don't know. We'll figure it out.
See what happens.
Yeah. I don't know. So, uh, uh, just wish I had more time. Wish I had more time. Doesn't George? All right, man. I will. If there's anything else, then I will talk to you soon, Carmine.
Of course.
Thank you for joining me.
Thank you.
All right. I'll talk to you soon, man.